Hello and welcome back to Lesson 6 of our online teacher induction class. As you recall, we've spent the last 3 videos with video PowerPoint discussing a start of school year checklist. Now today we're going to continue our discussion of start of school year checklist. And what these are a list of things that the teacher needs to take care of before school starts. I'd like to ask you, just going back and review, and I've done this several times in these last few videos, have you established a list of routines and procedures that you'd like to practice in your class? In your lesson plans, have you incorporated those routines and procedures into your lesson plans so that you can teach those to your students in practice? On that topic, one mistake that many teachers make is to hand out a syllabus which has a lot of deadlines and procedures and how the course runs. And in doing so, expects the student to know all their expectations for the class by one review of the syllabus. Well, that's just not realistic in any classroom, pre-K through 12. A good teacher takes the time to explain rules and expectations, procedures and routines, practices those, and consistently checks that the students understand what's expected of them. A second question, have you established some procedures for classroom management? If you don't know exactly what the discipline procedure is in the school building you're going to be teaching in this upcoming session, you can think about the process and how you are going to deal with students in your classroom that might cause some management issues. And then finally, before we move on, our last video we discussed turn waiting time into learning time. We talked a little bit about transitions and some things that the teacher can do to turn downtime into opportunities for students to learn. There are dozens of strategies on the internet and textbooks and so on. I listed a few of those for you in the last video in the PowerPoint. But pick a few of those that you feel comfortable with and feel like would be appropriate for the age that you're going to teach, and be prepared to use those from day one if necessary. Well, let's move on to today's topic. Today's topic is kind of a potpourri in wrapping up our start of school year checklist. So we're going to talk just a little bit about the classroom environment and how you establish and set up a classroom environment and what it looks like and how it looks, what that tells others that come into your classroom as well as you and your students. And then we'll wrap it up with just a few tidbits about communication with parents. So let's take a look at the PowerPoint. Now, when someone visits your classroom, what does that classroom look like? You can tell a lot about a classroom just by walking in and looking around. How are the classroom desks arranged? What's on the walls? They call this walking the walls. You can tell a lot whether student work is displayed, whether there's an emphasis on active learning or creation or creativity of students putting things on the wall. Is the classroom arranged for interaction? Is the classroom arranged for active participation? That means if I was a principal walking into your classroom and I was wanting to address these 2 bullets, is the classroom arranged for interaction or active participation? I might see tables where instead of desks, I might see 4 desks put into a square where pairs of students are eye to eye. I might see a circle of chairs or a circle of desks where students work together and they can see each other. They're all responding and working together in some type of a Socratic seminar or Socratic circle. These are things that will help your principal convey the message to your principal, to your students and others that you're serious about interaction, you're serious about active participation and learning. And we already mentioned walking the walls. Here's another thing. If someone walks the walls, the students in your class, if he or she starts to daydream and look around your walls, hopefully that'll never happen to you, but it could happen. Are your diplomas and your awards posted where students can see them? This sends a subtle message on a daily basis of a student looking up and seeing Kent Wire, Wichita State University, Kent Wire, University of Arkansas, whatever that may be, whatever school that may be, encourages these students, especially those that look up to you, to want to enhance their education and further their education. So be sure and think about posting those kind of things in your classroom. What does your classroom tell others? And finally, do you have a plan for how you'll communicate with parents? Sometimes the only time a parent hears from the school is when their student has made an error in judgment. And they call the principal, the assistant principal, the teacher. The teacher's aide calls the parent to report a violation of classroom procedures or building procedures. Well, every successful teacher plans to make positive parent contacts. How will you do that? Is it going to be by email? That's a modern way to communicate. Some schools are even now allowing communication through text. Will that be by hard copy, writing a note and sending it home in your student's backpack? Plan ahead for an appropriate communication to tell parents when the student is responding or reacting positively in class. And finally, set aside a daily time to assess. By that I mean, as a teacher, I get home, I finish a lesson, I get into my planning period, or at home that night. What did I do today that I want to continue with this lesson? What did we do today that really worked well? What did I do today that I will definitely do differently next time? Perhaps even tomorrow, what's not working? And if that involves a change in classroom procedure or classroom routine, you have to share that with your students. I've decided that in the future we're going to try this rather than that technique. Well, that's enough for this very important topic. Please spend some time going back through the PowerPoint. Make yourself that start of school year checklist. It's one of the most important things that you can do for the upcoming school year.